Judgment in the last days is the work that completely saves humankind. If one doesn't accept judgment in the last days, all previous efforts are in vain. At this time, we can understand that God's management plan is divided into 3 stages. Which stage is most crucial and will determine people's outcome and destination? A. The age of law. B. The age of grace. C. The age of kingdom. The correct answer is C. The age of kingdom. Out of all 3 stages of God's management for the salvation of mankind, His work in the age of kingdom is the most important. When God returns in the last days, He will conclude the age of grace, usher in the age of kingdom, and do the work of judgment beginning with the house of God. God's judgment work in the age of kingdom is the final stage of God's management plan. Whether people can accept and submit to it directly decides their outcome. Some people say, "I only believe in Jesus. I don't accept Jesus' return, and I don't need to follow God's new work." What will the Lord Jesus say to such people? Many will say to me in that day, "Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name? And in your name have cast out devils? And in your name done many wonderful works?" And then will I profess to them, "I never knew you. Depart from me, you that work iniquity." Why were these people who believed in the Lord their whole lives, suffered much, and did much work in the name of the Lord Jesus, condemned by the Lord as evildoers? It is because they do not accept God's judgment work of the last days. Their corrupt dispositions are not cleansed, so they can still rebel against, resist, deny, and betray God. God has done such great work and paid such a great price to save humankind. Therefore, to deny and condemn God's final work of salvation is the most serious betrayal. It is blasphemy against God. Such people have no more sin offering and will forever be spurned and eliminated by God. Therefore, not accepting God's judgment work of the last days, rejecting Christ of the last days, and refusing to accept God's salvation of the last days is the mark of being condemned. Their outcome is perdition and destruction, with no chance of ever being saved and entering the kingdom of heaven. But those who sincerely believe in God, yearn for God's appearance, and accept His judgment and chastisement in the last days are the most blessed. They are the group of overcomers God will perfect in the last days, who will enter the next age with God and enjoy eternal rest. God's 6,000-year management plan is about to end, and the gate of the ark of the last days is about to close. There isn't much time left. Now, the great disasters prophesied in the Bible have begun. If people do not welcome the Lord, they will surely suffer in the disasters. Disasters that are to come will all be catastrophic, including but not limited to earthquakes, typhoons, volcanic eruptions, floods, and so on. After the destruction of one disaster, another disaster will soon follow and claim even more lives. With each wave of disaster, another group of people will perish. In this way, all the unbelievers and evildoers will be gradually eliminated and destroyed. If people only accepted the first 2 stages of God's work, but refused to accept God's judgment work in the last days, their life disposition will never change. They will never be saved. This is a manifestation of God's righteous disposition. Their faith would be a case of giving up halfway, with all previous efforts wasted. What a pity and regret that would be. In the end, only those who have accepted God's judgment and are cleansed will be protected and remain. God will defeat Satan and fully gain glory, and his 6,000-year management plan will be accomplished. Subsequently, the kingdom of Christ will appear on earth. Those who remain will be God's people, living forever in his kingdom, enjoying God's promises and blessings. Finally, let's read another passage of word. Those who are able to stand firm during God's work of judgment and chastisement during the last days, that is, during the final work of purification, will be the ones who will enter into the final rest alongside God. As such, all those who enter into rest will have broken free of Satan's influence and been gained by God only after having undergone his final work of purification. These humans, who will have been finally gained by God, will enter into the final rest. The purpose of God's work of chastisement and judgment is in essence meant to purify humanity for the sake of the ultimate day of rest. Otherwise, no members of humanity could be sorted according to their kind or enter into rest. This work is humanity's only path to enter into rest. Only God's work of purification will cleanse humans of their unrighteousness, and only his work of chastisement and judgment will expose those rebellious elements of humanity, thereby distinguishing those who can be saved from those who cannot, and those who will remain from those who will not. When this work ends, those people who are allowed to remain will all be cleansed and enter a higher state of humanity, in which they will enjoy a more wonderful second human life upon the earth. In other words, they will commence their human day of rest and coexist with God. After those who are not allowed to remain have been chastised and judged, their true colors will be entirely exposed, after which they will all be destroyed and, like Satan, will no longer be permitted to survive upon the earth. The humanity of the future will no longer include any of this type of people. Such people are not fit to enter the land of the ultimate rest, nor are they fit to join in the day of rest that God and humanity will share, for they are the targets of punishment and are evil, unrighteous people. They were redeemed once, and they have also been judged and chastised. They also once labored for God. However, when the final day comes, they will still be eliminated and destroyed due to their evil and as a result of their rebelliousness and inability to be redeemed. They will never again come into being in the world of the future, and will no longer live among the human race of the future. The sole purpose behind God's ultimate work of punishing evil and rewarding good is to thoroughly purify all humans so that he may bring a purely sanctified humanity into eternal rest. This stage of his work is the most crucial. It is the final stage of the whole of his work of management.